Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video and hope you guys are doing well today. In this video, we're going to be doing the Blackrock Caverns Heroic Guide. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. The first boss you're going to face in Blackrock Caverns is Rom-Og Bone Crusher. First boss has four mechanics. Quake. The boss will spawn quakes under every player dealing damage. You can move from them to avoid the damage. After 3 seconds, an ad will spawn from each. They should be picked up by the tank and AoE nuked down. Secondly is Chains of Woe. The boss will pull all players into melee range and spawn a chain. Kill the chain to be released from the root. Failure to do so will end up with Skullcracker. During Chains of Woe, the boss will channel Skullcracker, dealing large amounts of damage to anyone still in melee range. This is likely a one-shot for almost any party member. Wounding Strike, a small 25% mortal strike that will hit the tank occasionally. The tactic for this boss is very simple. Loosely spread around the boss, move from quakes as they spawn and kill the ads. The tank should focus on picking them up. During chains, full focus on chains and immediately run out till after Skullcrusher goes off. Upon pulling the boss, he will do a call for help. Pretty much pulling anything in sort of 10 to 15 yards around the boss. You can get him at the peak of his movement and you won't get anything, just something to be aware of. The second boss of Blackrock Caverns is Caller, Herald of Twilight, a simple boss made complicated by groups not doing the tactic correctly. Firstly, the boss has one simple mechanic, Dark Command, a long cast time fear that can and should be interrupted every time. Most tanks will be able to take care of this themselves. Secondly, then you will have Zealots. At the start of the fight, you will see 3 Zealots knelt before the boss, and as you engage, there will be beams that attach to the Zealots. They will remain inactive unless you reach 100 stacks, of which you'll evolve and do a lot of damage to the group. Players can stand in the way of beams to instead take the stacks. The tactic for this boss is very simple. Have 3 players assigned to break the beams on the Zealots, get stacks to about 70 to 80, then move out. Once your stacks drop, move back into your beam. Doing this correctly turns this into a tank and spank with one interrupt mechanic. What I personally like to do, especially as the tank, is take the middle beam myself. You can position the boss so that its back is to the wall, have the melee DPS stand there, have one ranged DPS and the healer take the 2 side zealots, and it makes the fight very, very simple. You only move out as you get to 70 or 80 stacks, and you just repeat this until the boss dies. One thing to note about this fight is if it goes bad and the Zealots do empower, the boss has an aura around her that does increase damage and increases their attack speed and cast speed, I believe. Taking these Zealots out, even if they have to be tanked by a caster DPS or a ranged DPS, is actually probably a good thing. They're much more likely to survive and the group to survive if they get moved out. They also do a cast called Shadow Strike, which will encounter on mobs later on in the dungeon. This should be interrupted on the empowered Zealots as it's pretty much a one-shot. The third boss in Blackrock Caverns is Carsteel Bender, one of my favourite Kata Heroic bosses. This boss has 2 phases technically, however the strategy I recommend will only ever use one phase. The boss has one mechanic and the entire fight is based around it. Obsidian Armor reduces the boss's damage taken by 99%. This can be removed by bringing the boss into the lava pillar. This lava pillar will add stacks of superheated obsidian armor, whilst also pulsing heatwave damage to the group, increasing with each stack of superheated obsidian armor. For each stack of the superheated armor, the boss will take more damage and hit the tank harder. Allowing superheated obsidian armor to fall off will cause the boss to cool down and he will spawn adds and become near unkillable again until you take him into the lava pools. The strategy I recommend here is very simple. Have the tank taunt the boss through the lava pillar at the start of the fight, gain a couple of stacks and move it out. Once the boss has 6 or 7 seconds left on his stacks, move it back into the lava pillar for 2 to 3 and move it back out. Continue this until the boss dies. Very simple. Now, on private servers, the range can actually outrange the AoE damage from Heatwave, and this is very key. The tank will take some damage towards the end of the fight, but nothing that shouldn't be worried about. Save cooldowns till the end, and he should fall over very easily. The fourth boss at Blackrock Caverns is Beauty, an optional boss that you do not need to do at all for completion. However, doing it can give you more justice points, loot, etc. It can be very tough or very easy depending on group comp, so let's talk about the abilities. The boss has a couple of mechanics itself. Charge, it will just charge a random player, knock them back. Flame Break, an AoE knockback around Beauty. Magma Spit, a debuff on a player that does damage and should be dispelled. Once dispelled, it will explode. And Terrifying Roar, a group-wide 4-second fear. My recommended strategy for this fight involves CCing the puppies at the beginning of the fight and keeping them CC'd while you pull Beauty close to the door and fire there. They are beasts, so any CC that can be used on beasts will work here. Things like Hibernate, Trap, Polymorph, Hex, all good options. If you cannot keep both puppies CC'd, full focus one of the puppies down and maintain CC on the others. 2 puppies is likely to be tough to kill in early heroic gear. Puppies do pulls of fire and a fire breath, which are both particularly dangerous. As you can see in the clip I used here, the group decided that we were just going to brute force this. We are very overgeared considering, and actually once things start going, people taking a bit of damage, can be quite noticeable even in this gear that you are doing the fight wrong. Ascendant Lord Obsidius is the final boss of Blackrock Caverns, and a particularly hard boss at that. The boss has himself and 3 invulnerable adds. Now, the first thing to note here is that the adds do not have a standard threat table. Instead, they work on the most recent threat generated. This is important because the first mechanic in the fight, which is their channeling ability. This is castable while moving and will be cast once reaching melee range of their current target. This stacks up to 4 times per add, and at 4 stacks will stop any healing on the target, whilst doing some damage. The boss does a couple of other mechanics, such as a knockdown on the tank, an AoE thunderclap, and transformation, teleporting Obsidius to one of his adds, causing a threat wipe and doing Twilight corruption, dealing significant damage to a random player through a dot. There's 2 separate strategies for dealing with this boss on heroic. Firstly involves having a rogue, mage, or hunter capable of kiting these adds makes the fight much easier. If you have someone that's confident in kiting, have them kite around the room, have the tank pick up Obsidius after transformations, and it's a simple fight. The healer only has to heal the tank and the corruption target at any one point. If you don't have someone capable of kiting the adds, however, DPS need to rotate who is tanking the adds and rotate as they have high stacks or Twilight corruption. You can use things like Guardians, as we do in this clip in this video, of Fire Elemental, Earth Elemental, Army of the Dead, Snake Trap from Hunters, all these sorts of things. As they generate threat on the adds, they can actually almost taunt them. It's really a good idea for tanks to have stacks on them for very long, as the lack of healing can stack up extremely quickly.